Hey, welcome to the 16th episode of Kicking It with Coach. I'm here with a special guest, Miss McKenzie Webster.
Hey,
Miss McKenzie plays soccer at Mountain Island Charter under Coach Lloyd and Coach Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? You played with Coach Johnson. She played basketball, and she was an outstanding athlete for us. She's now a student athlete at Catawba College. How you been doing, McKenzie?
it's been rough this past spring semester. Fall semester was easy, but spring semester has been a lot harder with everything going on and some personal issues. But
How's your academics and your GPA?
academics in the fall was really good. I think I had all A's and B's except for one class, which was like a really high C, which really made me mad, but it is what it is. But the spring semester has been really hard. I've been dealing with clinical depression and anxiety, so I've been getting help with that, but I've suffered loss after loss of several people I care about, so it's all just rocked me to my core. But I have 2 summer classes coming up to hopefully help my GPA for the spring semester, which is a good thing.
Okay, any clubs or anything that you're involved in social life outside of sports at Catawba?
When do I got time for that? It's all academics, and then soccer is basically like a part-time job. I have done intramurals. Like I was in a basketball tournament with a lot of my soccer team. We played against the other teams. It was fun. But mainly I watch out for my teammates when they go partying, stuff like that, or I'm inside studying for an upcoming test. I'm not a social butterfly, no matter how my teammates try.
The question I got for you, how many fouls did you have in that game?
Actually, I've only gotten 3 fouls at max. And granted, we had students reffing,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest argued over if it was a foul or not. The girl literally just ran into me and then fell. She was coming in for a layup. I just stuck my hands up. She hit me hard and then fell. I'm like, sorry.
That's what I seem to remember from your basketball days. You was a great rebounder, but when you knew how to foul. Like it
It
wasn't
was purpose. It's just you can't help. Like the girls run into me and they fall over. It's not my fault.
for sure. And I know y'all had a short season, or y'all didn't have a season at all for soccer. You want to talk anything about your soccer season or practice or anything? How did that go?
Our season was in the fall, and we did okay. We ended up right before our actual game started getting a new coach. So we had to get used to him again, and it was okay. Like I liked him. He's a mismatch of some coaches I've had. I got injured 2 weeks before our last game, and it was a really high ankle sprain. It was really bad. My teammates thought I've actually did something to my knee because we were in practice. We were doing defensive drills, and I got in there, and my ankle rolled, and they heard 3 pops. So I was stuck in a boot for a week, and then working it out, and I finally got to play the last game, which was fun. But he made me sit next to him, and all I can think about is Lloyd when he was at the boys' games. It was the exact same thing. I'm like, so we didn't do as well as we wanted, but as a team, we got better together, and we got used to one another, and we still like talk outside of practice and everything. Like we'll eat lunch together, dinner, breakfast, whatever, depending on people's class schedules. So spring semester, I got a new coach again. So he came in, I think, a week before we got moved back home. So we haven't gotten used to him yet. But
Well, what's some goals that you got for next season?
definitely increasing our, like, getting a better record. I feel like as a team we can do that on the field, getting a better record, and in the weight room. I say we get a little bit more focus in the weight room. It's always, we get our stuff done, but it's always like laughter everywhere when we need to be serious. Off the field, I'm hoping to actually start volunteering at my local animal shelter because I have to get so many hours to be considered for veterinary school in the near future. So that's going to be fun.
For sure. So what was the biggest transition for you between high school and college?
Ooh, that's several things. I will say not being close to my family, that's a little bit different because I'm used to having like coming home and having my parents there or whatever. I can't say living by myself, like in a room by myself. I've had that before. Also sharing a room, I've had that with Cindy before. So that's not different. I will say sports-wise, a transition, it's more of a part-time job compared to high school where you only have a set time to do certain things, but in college you're asked to work on your own sometimes. If you don't have practice, like in the spring we have a limited amount of hours we can work as a team. You're expected to go out at least with some of your teammates and work on whatever you need. The coaches will give you the key to go get the balls and just go practice. So we would definitely do that, and that's a definite big thing about it is to work on your own as well and not just surpass the coach's expectations of you just being there for practice, doing what you're supposed to do at practice, and then being done. You need to go beyond making sure you're ready to go for the next game, taking care of yourself, visiting the trainer if you need to. It's all a huge process.
Yeah. So how important is it for student athletes or students, period, to take their academics serious while they're in high school?
It's very serious. At Catawba, we actually have a competition between all the teams with their GPA. Soccer is second place for their GPA, with swim coming in first because there's only 5 people. But it's very important because they base you off your GPA. I know the Catawba football boys, not only do they have like tryouts, even if you're like with them, they have tryouts, make sure you did your summer workouts and everything, but every 2 weeks your teacher has to sign a worksheet or give a grade update to your coaches so they stay on top of it or you don't play. That's a big thing. And colleges they'll look at your GPA when you want to play and be like, no, you don't have a high enough GPA. We're not going to put you on the field just to have you suspended because you didn't meet the amount of credit hours or the required GPA.
For sure. So it sounds like the football team got a Miss Toast in there.
Kind of. It's kind of like that. It's good, though. I wish soccer would do it, but we don't do it yet. I'm really hoping they install that way. Like, we can be accountable for ourselves, but not only, like, our coaches know, like, what's going on in the classroom. Like, we have to meet with our coaches, like, every week just for them to talk to us, see what's going on. I know except for one of my losses, my teammates found out. They knew exactly what was going on right away because I wasn't acting how I usually do. And so my coaches called me in for a meeting asking if everything was okay, what's going on. I told them what happened. I said, I just need to work through it. And they're like, okay, we'll just keep an eye on you. But they're always there. And they take your academics very seriously too. Like if you need to miss practice for like something academic, like we have tutoring sessions and some teachers give extra credit for that. If you need to miss practice for that, that's completely fine.
That sounds good. So how did your high school experience help shape your college experience?
Oh, let's see. I guess academically, most of my teachers, like Miss Tolson, Miss Stallings, and all them, helped me figure out like I don't need to be perfect in all my academics and can just relax and know what I can and can't do, and how to set aside time for myself away from sports and academics so I can just retain my sanity. Because that's a key thing. You lose it. For sports, I guess all my coaches taught me to work hard and put in those extra hours. When I first started out at a goalie for soccer, I remember that summer before, Lloyd took me every Sunday when he wasn't working. We went to the field and he would work with me. Shantae did the same thing. Every Sunday with basketball, she would work with me. I would have to run on my own, and Miss Mamano for a little bit would time me and have me send her time updates about how'd you do, how'd you finish, how'd you feel. It's all about that outside work that you have to do.
For sure. How did sports help shape you as a person? Some of the lessons you've learned in sports.
I've learned to stick up for myself. Don't put up a crap with anybody. I've learned that sometimes being big comes with its disadvantages, but also using your size to your advantage. Especially as a goalie, I'm big, and if I come running at you, people immediately try to shoot and run away, or they get trampled, which is hilarious. But it taught me to be a leader and not only stick up for myself, but for others. Let's see. Yeah, those are the key ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, what's some advice you can give to student athletes looking to be where you're at?
Always remember to take care of yourselves first. If something's wrong, you know it's wrong, go talk to your coach, go talk to your trainer. Do not push through it because it can hurt you. I learned that the hard way with one of my games back in high school, my senior year. I was sick for 3 days straight, then played a game. But instead of telling my coaches that I don't feel well, someone else needs to go in for me, I pushed through the first half and I nearly collapsed. So it is not something to put yourself like, oh, I can just push through it. I need to be there for my team. You need to be there for your team later on as well, not just for one game. I think that's what a lot of them struggle with from what I see, especially going back and watching games. I see people like push through injuries that they should not be pushing through, especially some of your football boys. Mm-hmm. I see that a lot.
This is true. Now, what are some ways that Coach Lloyd and some other coaches and people at Mountain Island, how have they impacted your life?
I think Coach Lloyd and Shantae really pushed me on my shell, telling me you do not have to be like this gentle person. You can be aggressive. You can stick up for yourself, which came in handy later when I actually had to stick up for a friend that was being bullied, which was nice. But just to stick up for yourself, not only to the other team, but sometimes to certain teammates who don't respect you. I learned that the hard way through club, especially sometimes being the oldest or not in the same clique as other people. They didn't respect me, sometimes not even as captain. So I had to, in the nicest way possible, not to get on their bad side and ruin it, but to tell them, look, I'm in charge here. Coach put me in charge. Just do what you're told and get it done. All I ask is you give effort. If you don't want to give effort, go sit your butt down. That's all a lot of people ask for.
For sure. Now, before we get into the fun part, start looking at some pictures. Any Coach Lloyd impersonations? I'm ready for this. I'm totally down for this one.
Don't think I can actually do any impersonations, but I can tell y'all his whistle. If any soccer girls have ever had him hear it, you hear the whistle, you turn your head like you're a dog. That's how much he's trained us to listen. That's the best way he got our attention. It was so funny. I think another thing, he always told me if he was wanting to rant about something and he was like warming me up in the goal, he's like, this is between me, you, and the fence post. Meaning it does not go outside of this. I'm trying to think of another goal. That's all I got. That's clean.
That's some good stuff. Because people that don't know Coach Lloyd, once I got to know him, I start realizing he's more of a football coach deep down inside. He has a football coach mentality. I'm not talking about soccer. I'm talking about football.
No, he does not put up with crap.
No.
And if you do not listen or anything, he either expects, one, the captains to deal with it, or two, he's like, y'all go running. Y'all listen, go run. It's hilarious. And it gets the girls to listen and respect him for sure. And I'm sure like the football boys, if you get him up there, oh my goodness, they would die. They would die.
Well, shout out to Coach Lloyd, our soccer coaches. Great guy, great man, great mentor. So shout out to Coach Lloyd. You ready for this fun part?
Oh, sure. Oh, no.
All right, McKenzie. What does family mean to you?
Family means everything to me. They're all my support systems. We're there for one another, even in hard times and good times. It's important they always support me. Oh, Lord.
And you got a tight-knit family. And you come from an athletic family. All of y'all are athletic. Y'all got your own thing and smart. But you come from a tight family. You want to talk about your bond?
We have a very tight bond. With 3 of us out of the 4 doing soccer and other sports, my eldest sister, Whitney, who's 12 years older than I am, did dance. But when she lived with us, she would always take care of us when mom and dad had work. She would chaperone us everywhere. Then you have Cindy and Logan, who we constantly either bicker back and forth or we're there to console one another after something happens. It's a strong sibling bond. And then, of course, you have our parents, which mother's more the strict on academics and dad's more the sports person, but both of them were there to support all of our games when they could, if they weren't split up between the 3 of us. And so, now we influence our niece, which is great.
So you got that good combination of a good balance, academic, sports. So that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
My
now,
dad, oh Lord.
I just got into your dad. You're a twin, by the way. You're a twin.
I know, it's scary. It's scary.
You want to talk about dad?
Oh Lord, how many times dad and I have we get access to the field. If Stagger will let us, he'll let us go up to the field, use the equipment up there, and we would just go to town working on stuff. And we had to drag Logan along because he's not quite there where he's, ready to go and push himself to his limit. But he's always there. He records all my games for me to watch later. He's a strict, he will tell you flat out what you did wrong, what you did right, which is nice at times. Sometimes just like, I don't want to listen to it right now, especially after a tough loss, but he'll tell you anyway. It's always fun.
Shout out to Pops. Shout out to your dad. All right, Mom.
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's her and Whitney on the graduation photo. Oh, that's always in the photo.
Well, you know what was interesting? I could not find a picture of your mom by herself. I looked everywhere.
No,
she
it's
doesn't take pictures of herself.
No, she doesn't. It's usually us that takes the pictures. My grandmother, Mom, is the same way. She usually takes pictures of everyone else, but the one actually with a cap and gown is actually my mother graduating high school with my oldest sister, Whitney. And that's them again, I think. Either that's her or that's Sydney. No, that's her. And the second photo. But my mom and I have been through a lot. I know from what she told me, she struggled when I was born because of all the issues I've had. I was orange. I was in the ICU. I was in and out of the hospital for a year. All these issues, but she knew I would push through, and she always gave me support when I needed it. So.
Yeah, your mom, she's a champion. Like, I used to remember, like, your sophomore, 11th grade, 12th grade year, you was always like her assistant. I mean, you always would be around your mom, helping her out. Like, y'all tag team a lot. Y'all seem to have a special bond, even though you look exactly like your dad, but you and your mom had this bond, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. You want to talk about that bond?
Her and I, as she puts it, have very similar personalities. So sometimes we would butt heads, but not as much as my sisters. Oh my goodness. But we were always there for one another. She always, and the teachers understood she needed to call me out of class because she was down a worker and needed help. The teachers didn't mind. I think that happened one time at junior year with Mr. Guy. I had to be called out of class at breakfast time because she was down to help her, and so many kids would come through line, so she just needed a hand. I mean, I'm there now constantly helping her when I can. If I'm on break or anything, helping her clean out the storage room or helping her with food prep, making sure her food gets everywhere because they're stretched so thin now with having 2 buildings. But my mother's always been there. She supports me through everything. She's been with me this past year when I was dealing with my anxiety, depression. She's been with me. I was able to talk to her when I needed to, and just call and just rant to her. Both my other sisters do it as well. It's just something that she didn't ask us to do. It's just so natural because we're so used to coming to her and talking to her and her talking us down just to get our minds straight. So it's always nice.
Most definitely. Shout out to Michelle. Definitely. All right, siblings. Sibling love. You talked a little bit about your sibling love.
I love this picture. This is such an old picture. And that's back when Logan was cute. You never let him live it down. Oh.
So let's go through your siblings, from your older sister to both your older sisters and your younger brother, because you're a younger sister to them, so I know that's a different dynamic, right? And then you're a big sister
girl.
to Logan, right?
Yep, and he's a baby. Well, first you have Whitney, who I guess technically is my half sister, but we never refer to her as that. She's always our sister. It's funny because she's a classic case of nature versus nurture because she acts like my dad. It's so scary sometimes. It's amazing. But as she puts it, I'm her Disney buddy. We always goof around. We always have fun. And this past year, actually, if I have a free weekend, I'll go up to her house and play with Elizabeth and have fun and do a game night with her and Justin, her husband. And we'll just have fun playing Monopoly or Mario Kart, which I suck at. But she's always there for the fun times. And then you got Sydney. The amount of times this girl came into my room when she lived here just to rant or tell me about a good book she read or a good movie. I think when we were younger and we first moved here, she would constantly sneak into my room and sleep with me just because we're so used to sleeping with one another. It was all fun. We were really competitive when it came to soccer. And when she first went to UNCG, it was my first year without her playing with me. It was so weird not having my center D there. It was so weird. And I had to adjust and get used to it because she was always there and she told me flat out if something was wrong or if I sucked. Sometimes if it didn't. But we always called each other out if something was wrong. And she taught me, don't be quiet. You have to run your mouth on the field. You have to do this. You don't need to be quiet all the time. You can be social. And then you got Logan. Oh boy. Completely different dynamic with me and him because we're so used to being the quiet ones because the other two talk so much. They would always run their mouths, especially Sydney. But when our bond especially grew, especially when she moved to Greensboro, him and I grew closer and we helped each other out, and I would push him on the field and off the field. I gave him crap if he doesn't want to work out with me and just want to sit down playing video games. But he now rants to me in the car if there's something going on, or he comes to me when he's mad or anything like that. Sure, we butt heads a lot, but we look out for one another.
And Logan is tall. He's a big kid now.
He's taller than Dad. He's
Yeah.
like 6'3" with a size 13.5 foot.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna, if only I can get muscle on him. He's all lean muscle. I just need, one of my uncles was the same way in high school until like his sophomore and junior year where he actually bulked up. So we're hoping that happens.
He definitely got the height.
Yeah, we don't know where he got the thumb from because he's taller than everyone on my dad's side.
Sometimes genetics is weird. You never know. All right.
Oh, Lord. I think that was Spirit Week one time, and I think it was Sydney's senior year. And she wanted to be Captain America, and I wanted to do something Disney. And she gave me crap. She's like, why can't we do something together? Like, you can be Wonder Woman. But I decided, no, I'm going as my favorite villain. She's like, fine, but you're taking a picture with me anyway. Thus the uncomfortable smile I have, because I don't like pictures. It's the same thing. I just don't like it. Her being photogenic as always, but definitely had that bond to where I'm like, okay, Cindy's here. She's dressed up. Oh no, meaning I have to get a picture done with her.
Mm-hmm.
It's constantly side by side, no matter where we go. She never wants to go anywhere by herself, even when she's here. Kenzie, I need to run the bank. You want to run with me? I need to go to the store. You're coming with me. It's like constant. She needs a companion. And that's kind of how our relationship worked.
Of course, I watched y'all play basketball together, and y'all had a good dynamic going. Like, you was the center.
Yeah,
I think Sid was
offensive.
small forward. And one thing I know, y'all empty the tank. And that's what I tell my football players. Emptying the tank means when you give it your all. Like, you knew, like, messing with the Webster sisters on the basketball court, you better come bring it, because y'all was tough.
It would always make our mother laugh when someone would get mad at us and we would just knock them over like with a rebound or like boxing someone out. It's always funny because back at basketball practice, we would always have like box out games. I would win against my sister just because I was bigger, but she never like stopped trying. And I know a lot of the girls against the teams we played against would always get so upset because we would just turn and box them out as hard as we could. Sometimes they fall over. But it's so funny.
Accidentally, right?
Yes, we would accidentally knock them out. We never did it on purpose. It's just they weren't prepared. Especially when we went to free throw line, and it was like our free throw. Our dad always taught us we would look at each other, and we would size up the people next to us. We'd look at each other. I would do like a spin motion with our finger, meaning to spin around the person, or we would do a slice, meaning box them out. So it was always that communication her and I had. We always knew what each other was thinking, which was scary. We always got picked up for twins, which I don't see.
And Sid, McKenzie, I think this was I'm getting y'all confused already.
It's okay. I get called Sydney all the time.
I remember this was your freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And a girl had fouled you. And then this girl was coming back and she was driving the lane. And I seen it in your face. And we'll get to your facial expression here in a few.
Oh.
This girl, this is bad news right now. And I seen it coming a mile away. And she accidentally hit you, and she just, and I just remember the face she gave. I was like,
it was so funny. I think I looked over to my mother, and my mother was laughing on the sidelines. And that's not even the worst one I've ever did. I think it was my 8th grade year, the first time I had Shantae as a coach. It was against CSD, and this little girl and I both grabbed the ball at the same time. And before they could call a jump ball, all I remember is swinging the ball, and the girl goes flying across the court. And I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, I'm so sorry, but her coach got in my face and was yelling at me, and the ref had to step in saying she didn't do it on purpose. And I just look over at the bench, and I see Shantae laughing, and I see my mother laughing. I'm like, thanks. I'm sitting here embarrassed, and I go help the little girl up, and I'm like, and y'all laughing at me.
Good stuff.
Always fun.
All right, we spoke about you have a competitive sports, like locked in the zone. Can you talk about when you lock in and you get this look? Because this was the look when the girl was driving the lane, by the way.
I block everything out at that point, and I just like tunnel vision. I'm focused. I'm like, nope. Actually, in this picture, I'm focused. I'm like, okay, I have to get through. There's like this. It was, I don't know what year was this. It was still when Fisher Farms had that ridiculously like practically vertical like hill. I just climbed it and I was exhausted. But I'm like, nope, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna beat my time. I'm gonna do this. I actually did beat my time, I think, that race.
Was this cross country?
It was.
Because I was going through some pictures. I said that looks like a track uniform. Because you remember, I recruited you pretty hard to come out and throw the shot for us.
I know. But I'm like, I couldn't.
Yeah, because you was already locked in college prospect. So, but I seen this picture and I was like, okay, McKenzie did run. So there's some good stuff.
I still do to this day.
All right,
it's a Wolverine jersey, as Logan calls it. Oh, that's an old jersey. Oh my goodness. I think. Oh, that's so old. That was like one of my first. That was my 6th grade year. Wow.
how was it during that time? Like soccer, like talk a little bit about your love of the game, how it grew in this particular picture. Where was you at that moment?
I played soccer since I was like 2 or 3. So at this point, I was just so happy to play, especially with my sister. But this is like my first official year as a goalie. And I think I was in love with the game, but you can tell at this point, every little action I made, I had so many thoughts going through my mind. And that's still a challenge to this day. I overthink everything. But my love of the game didn't change. I always loved it. I would always watch the women's soccer team play. And it was just so amazing to me. And especially like growing throughout the years, getting more steady in that goalie position, I learned to love it and to push myself in that position through the scars and everything. That takes me back. Wow. I haven't seen that
All right.
picture. Oh my God. That jersey's hanging up in my room. I'm so happy with that. I cried when I had to give that back on my last night. And then I think there's a video of it somewhere when Matthews gave it back to me. I was crying. I couldn't part with that jersey, paint stains and all.
So this jersey is actually, if I'm not mistaken, your jersey is retired, right?
That jersey is retired. And I saw the new one they were wearing because Coach Darren showed me, and I loved it. I'm like, that suits the uniform perfectly. Anyone can wear it. They can interchange. It's great. But this one, to me, is beyond special. I think it was like, what was it? I think it was my sophomore year we got it. And I finally had to get rid of the yellow jersey, which I'm like grateful for because it's getting really small. But this jersey's been through so much. It has paint stains from Thomas Jefferson, and we didn't know they just painted the field, and I was warming up. And I got paint stains on it, but I didn't care. It was awesome, which also made Mason not wear it anymore. But he's like, nope, I'm not wearing it. You got paint stains on it. I'm like, really? But he got a new purple one, so we're good. I said I wasn't wearing the purple one. I said I'm finishing out my years in the orange. So I think one favorite.
Is it hanging up anywhere?
We're going to put it in a shadow box, but I think the night I got it back, I slept in it. I couldn't. I'm like, I was so happy. I'm like, I can't part with this because it has so many memories for me. It had, especially my senior year going and getting to regionals, I was beyond ecstatic. I pushed myself to the limit, which I'm still like hanging on to kind of a shoulder injury right now that I got, I think, the 3rd round. It's still lingering there a little bit, but I would not give up that jersey for anything. There was so many blood, sweat, and tears I shed in that.
And that's the beauty about being an athlete when you put in some work and you're able to get that jersey back, because I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. Your sister soccer jerseys retired, correct?
Her number's retired and everything. We have it framed right now. We haven't really hung them up anywhere yet because we're trying to find a place. We're probably going to hang them up where our trophies are. So.
She was the first female soccer athlete to have their number retired, right?
Yep.
And guess who was the second?
Me.
Good stuff. So
it's funny. We kind of prelude each other. She was the first one to actually be offered a college spot for soccer, but she didn't take it. But I was the first one to actually play. It's interesting.
Yeah, so whenever we get Mountain Island athletic trivia, right?
Oh, God.
Little known fact. All right. Special woman here. Very special woman.
She's very special to me because I've known her for so long because she had Sydney. We had SCA together. And my senior year, she was with me through everything. She knew when something was wrong. When my godmother passed and they were gone on senior break, I didn't have anyone to vent to. Right that Monday when they came back and they came through that door, I lost it. She was there for me. She comforted me through everything, through my panic attacks, all of it. She was there for me. And it was amazing. I love all my teachers because there's so few teachers that I have that secure bond with they're like a second parent to me. And that's one of them.
And shout out to Miss Stallings. I mean, she's made a big impact in a lot of students' lives, and you can see it. You can see it beyond, just the high school realm. When they go to college, like even my daughter, they know when they come back in, I got to go and see Miss Stallings. It's automatic. I have to go back to school and see her.
Yep. It's funny because I was worried, like I was about to give up on going through with college soccer. So I'm like, I haven't gotten any offers. I haven't done any of this. I'm not sure if I should go to this next camp. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, you go to this last camp. You were going to make a college team. And then after that camp, I got an email from 3 different colleges wanting me. And as soon as I found out, I ran and told her. She was so happy. She was ecstatic. If she hasn't said anything to me, I probably wouldn't be playing right now.
Wow. Big shout out to Miss Stallings for a great motivator. All right, you got a special bond with another special lady.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, where do I begin with this woman? Oh, she's absolutely amazing. I love her to death, especially her and her little AJ. Every time AJ comes over, Sadie growls at her when she takes him away from her, and it's always great. But she especially was there anytime I had problems. We always had fun. She would be there if I wanted to rant at all. She would just sit there and let me rant to her. Even if it was a class full of students that probably needed to do something, she would let me rant, and it was amazing. She always worked with me. She would double check on me, make sure everything was good. And in return, I would help her, like, babysit. And, of course, I wouldn't charge her anything. It was just my dogs loved having her child around. And him and I had that special bond where I ended up being his third word with my dog being one of his first, which was hilarious.
Have you talked to Ms. Tolson recently? Because AJ is talking up a storm right now.
I haven't been able to FaceTime, but we've been talking through text because she texted both my sisters, my mom and I. She wants to get AJ a dog. And AJ loves our dogs. They're all lab mixes with 1 chocolate lab and 2 lab corgis. And he loves our dogs. He always has. So that's what she wants to get him. So we're helping her pick out a dog, and I'm one of the ones in charge of training it.
Good stuff. So I know they'll have a good trainer. So this next picture.
Military commands. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I remember that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was the day of my signing as well, and I don't like attention. And at that point, I'm like, I just want to get off to the side. I don't want any more attention. Can I please just go off to the side? And Sydney's like, my dad's sitting here quiet, and Logan's like, I'm just going to stand here and look pretty. It's the exact moment he said that. Kind of made me sad, like, the way they scheduled senior night. My mom and Annie, my grandmother and great-grandmother wanted to come down and do it, but they couldn't. My sister and my niece and my brother-in-law all wanted to come down and see that like they did on Sydney's. But the way senior night was scheduled out, they weren't free that day. It wasn't a Friday, so they couldn't really come down, which kind of made me like really upset. But having those three there, and then my mother couldn't walk me because she was taking pictures and doing in charge of everything else. But they supported me, and I got a call later that night telling me, we're sorry we couldn't make it. We really wanted to, but you know we love you, and we got you. They sent me some stuff in the mail afterwards, so it was really nice. And I loved sharing that moment with my other seniors, especially when I pulled out, like, them getting a check. They were, like, the soccer program was so ecstatic. They all looked at me like, are you sure? Because the boys were the same way, so was basketball. They're like, are you serious right now? I'm like, yeah. All three of your programs, even the boys, just me helping. Y'all helped me in so many ways. I'm not just going to forget y'all. Y'all are getting something to help you.
No doubt. And speaking of your team, it's your team right here. I think we're hiding Coach Johnson face. Just
No,
how
you're good.
Can you see Coach Johnson?
Yep, I can see Coach Johnson.
Special group there. And I
that face, I didn't know they were taking a picture. Oh my goodness. Oh, I had such a tight bond with these girls. And with my coaches as well. Maybe not as tight with Coach Darren, but he was actually my first ever like goalie coach I've ever had. I never had once actual goalie training. My junior year was the first year I ever received goalie training, and you can see a difference. And that's a huge for me. Because with Lloyd, you have to focus on all the other girls, but he would always set time for me, which was amazing. But all of these girls have a special place in my heart. And the years before them have a special place in my heart as well.
I just remember y'all going in the playoffs. And like the entire school, like y'all had everybody like locked in on y'all. Like every game y'all win, we celebrated. Like they're gonna, and y'all had one like Ella Barrick like hit a last second goal or something like that.
After Lakin, I think that was South Stokes. I have the video. I have all the playoff games videos. And I really got to get the Lloyd and Darren. Eesh, now that I think about it. But I had the videos, and sometimes if I'm feeling down, I would just sit there and like watch the games, and it made me so happy just watching it. I remember like the last second goal that Lakin scored to get us to golden goal, and Ella scored the golden goal in like 30 seconds. And I was just beyond. I ran to Lakin first. I'm like, oh my God, we did it. We ran to start like, we just beat the team that we lost to a few years ago in the playoffs. We did it. And then we automatically ran to Ella, who, bless her heart, was on the ground because the goalie hit her knee. So, of course, I think in the video you had Mason running up to me and telling me what's going on. And I immediately run to her and check on her. I think that's the bond a lot of the girls have. If any of us were injured, we would go help.
And speaking of Ella Barwick, you know, Ella was dual sport and she was running track. She didn't participate leading up to that, but I think after you guys' last game, she came and actually competed or came to the track meet. Like, this girl is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal athlete. And I always looked at Ella as looking up to you and being like you being a role model, whether you know it or not. But she's like the future, like, of our girls' sports. Her and Zara, right? And
yes.
I could just remember.
Texts I get from Zara all the time, just asking me questions. I think this past year, all the girls, every time I would come home and would see a game, even in the boys' season, I would come there and be like, oh, hey, McKenzie, and they'll automatically be pulled on the sidelines to sit on the sidelines with them. Basketball games, I was there at one practice. Zara would just rant to me or complain to me about something, and I think at one point I gave her a come to Jesus, and I'm like, no, you can't do this, listen. And then of course you have my girls, which, oh my goodness, I think I surprised them one practice and they were all ecstatic. No one knew I was coming. They came there like, they yelled Kinsey from across the field as I walk across, and I got a group hug and I loved it. I never knew I was that much of a role model, especially like when we lost against Union in the regionals. All I remember is sitting there hugging all like my senior girls who are crying in my shoulders. But then I think it was Julia and then Madison come up to me and they're crying because they're like, we won't have you anymore. It's so different. But the one that really got me was when Ellie came up to me. I was sitting on the bench. Ellie came up to me. She's like, you've inspired me. You have no idea how much you mean to me and this whole team. All of us freshmen, like, look up to you. You put us in a really big position. You gave us opportunity. You may have got mad at us at some point, but you explained to us what was going on, what we needed to do. And it was amazing just to hear that from them. And I think Bella came up to me afterwards and just hugged me. It was awesome.
And you know what? You work for that. I mean, far as you remember, we talked earlier about you having to be tough sometimes. Sometimes when you got to be tough, people don't realize it until later. Like I looked at Julia. Julia did dual sports as well. And Julia.
I loved her for that. She was amazing.
She had that McKenzie toughness. I did see that.
Yeah, I gave her crap about it. The moment she I tried to convince her, like, listen, they just need a goalie for this year. You can do this. She was really nervous. The first game and the day they got the jerseys, I get a text from Julia. She's like, guess what, McKenzie? I'm like, what? She's like, guess what number I'm wearing? I'm like, you're wearing 00, aren't you? She's like, yes, I am. She texted me that, and I lit up. I'm like, oh, my goodness. I wish I could be there to watch it because I was actually on a flight back from Disney when it happened. I really wanted to go see it, but I was just so happy that she texted me that it meant so much for her because I actually gave her a really hard time sometimes because she was so gentle for her size. And I'm like, oh no, I know what happens if you're gentle in this sport. I've been through this. Nope, we're gonna do this differently. It was just amazing. And then her now, I'm so proud of her, where she's going. I couldn't ask for someone else just to be in constant contact with me. It's amazing. And I love her for that. I love all my girls.
For sure. All right, we talked about powder puff, like tough. Now, I'm going on the record to say this. As a football coach, you probably was the hardest hitter on this field. Some of the licks that you laid, and we knew it because we used to always joke because people don't realize you trained with the football team one offseason. I think it was your junior offseason. You trained and lift weights with the football team.
Yeah, I think I got called a soccer mom by one of the football players, and I think it was Jake and Ryan that actually stood up for me like, dude, she can kick your butt. It was funny. And I remember, I think it was Coach Wynn was weighing the boys, and I was hearing all their weights. I'm like, y'all are light. And he's like, you want to step on the scale? And I stepped on there, 200 pounds of pure muscle. He's like, she got y'all beat. And I just walked off. It was
I think Coach Wynn, because he coached linebackers at that time, Coach Wynn was like, McKenzie might be able to play linebacker for us. Because you was just so tough.
They joked to me about that at some point. They're like, you just come be linebacker. It was so funny.
And you know what? No one doubted that you couldn't do it because when you was working out with us, you stuck right in there with some of our best boys.
I think you put me up as like a leader of one of the groups at one point. I'm thinking to myself, is he serious? And I just stepped right in. I just looked to my side and I see like some of the senior captains look at me, they're like, just go for it. I'm like, okay. And I just went, and it was really well. And it was kind of like soccer, to be honest, doing all that training. It's just with a lot more people. So you have a lot more people that will hold you accountable and work with you, which is amazing. But, oh, Lord.
Graduation. How was this moment sharing this with your parents?
Oh, it was amazing. Just being there. I was so happy that I just made it. And the last 2 years of high school were really hard for me because I knew something was wrong my junior year, and I was finally diagnosed with having anxiety and reactionary depression. So working through that, not really having an outlet, like professional-wise, to go to was a little bit more difficult, but both my parents were there if anything happened and taught me how to deal with everything, how to talk myself down if anything happened.
Now, McKenzie, I had Jalen Wiley up here.
Oh, Lord.
He made sure he reminded me that 2019 was the best class. Is that true?
Heck yeah, it is. What is it? We got 2 of the first ever soccer players signing, both goalies. So shout out to Mason Graham. Oh, boy. We worked our tails off that year. Oh, my goodness. You got Ms. Bennett, Darren, Lloyd. And then you got Casey. I'm missing like 2 more coaches, not including Mr. David Sorrow. All my coaches have something they put on me. And that day was so special for me. I remember I was trying to scramble to get everything done because I'm like, I want to get this done. I want this day because it's important to me. And all I remember is walking through the halls that day, and everyone looked at me because I'm usually like dressed down. I'm in like a t-shirt and jeans. They look at me like, why are you wearing a dress? Like it was a look of shock on their face, and it was so funny. But this day was extremely special for me.
You want to talk a little bit about Miss Bennett because she's in the picture, and Miss Bennett, she's really impacted a lot of people, and she's behind the scenes a lot. You know, she's not out there in front, but she provides us a nice, stable, and I know for even myself, she's impacted me, being able to be a stable, calm voice. You want to talk about Miss Bennett?
Where to begin? Oh, she's known me ever since the school started. She's always been there for all her athletes. And especially when it changed to where Steger was ahead of high school and she was middle school, she still was there for us. And I remember her coming to some of our games. I actually pet sit for her, so it's always fun. And it's just so much fun being around her. Like, she just lights up the room when she walks in, especially if you're doing something fun and she walks in. She was actually my first PE teacher I ever, like, my 4th grade year when the school started, she was my first PE teacher. And I remember just how much fun we would have. So growing up through this school and through her, it was amazing. She really set the stage for the athletics. And in the beginning, really gave us, like, high standards to live by. And a lot of us really met those standards. She really seems really tough on the outside, but on the inside, she is, like, one of the most great people you'll ever meet. She's there if you ever need her. She'll reach out to you if there's anything going wrong. It's just, there's no one else like her.
Most definitely. Hey, shout out to Miss Bennett. All right, so you signing.
Oh my goodness.
This with all your teammates. What was this feeling like?
It was amazing. I think 2 or 3 of them couldn't be there because they had a test and they couldn't get out of it, which made me sad. And Lakeland was one of them, and she was one of the first teammates I told that I was signing, and she was so happy for me. But this day was just amazing. It was night of senior night. They were all excited. You could see how uncomfortable I am taking a picture. I just don't like it. I don't like being the center of attention, but these girls really helped me shine. Every one of them brought out something in me, whether it's as a group process or individually. They really brought, as a team, we're a family, and we had that family bond. I think jokingly, they will always refer to me as the mother hen because I would check on everybody, make sure everyone's at practice if they need to, or if something goes wrong. I might text coach as well as me so we know what's going on. And I think when Sarah Taylor actually got a concussion in practice and she was hurting and stuff like that, I called her one night and just let her talk to me and ask how she was doing. A lot of the girls, we have that bond where we can reach out to one another and just talk. I think this past summer, I worked with the boys soccer team, training-wise, and I worked with the middle school team, doing the same thing this summer like I always do. And some of the girls, I think it was Ella, Sandy, and them, both Sandys came up to practice, and I would not let them slack off. They did my college workout with me, and they were tired after day one. It was so funny.
Well, you talked about a bond, and I was talking with Jake Hawkins, and we had talked a little bit off the record, and the Mountain Island Charter family bond is really a family. Like no matter what, we can butt heads at times. Everybody can, but it's like we got each other back regardless.
That's a real thing, especially when my past class, a lot of the boys and I feel like we had that strong bond. When anything monumental happened, like what happened with Bryson, I was actually sick that morning and I came in and heard about it. And as soon as I heard about it, I started like crying a little bit. And all I remember is like Zach Green and all of them like saying like, he's okay, he's in the hospital, he's fine. And I immediately went to go find Chloe, and it was all we're there for one another. And that's the key thing is like a lot of these bigger high schools, you notice how some groups are separated and have this separate bond kind of thing. But being from a small school, you bond with everyone. Like the group I grew up with are my brothers, not my friends. They are my brothers, especially like Gan, Evan, Andrew, and all them, especially Mason. Like they're all my brothers. Like I would not trade them for the world. It's just a strong bond that you have.
We're unicorns. We always use that. We look different. We act different, but in our community, it's just a different feel. And you talked about Mason. I had Mason up here, and you and Mason was the first soccer athletes to sign to a college. So y'all set that tone. How special did it feel, or did it mean to you being able to do that with your brother?
It was beyond belief because we both helped each other in the beginning because we were complete opposites in goal. It was kind of funny. So we worked on each other's flaws. But Mason, watching him go at it, him train and everything, it was amazing. And then him being there for the sidelines, for me, like especially after a game, he would come and talk to me, especially after like if a goal was scored and I knew I could have stopped it, he would just come and talk to me. He's like, what'd you do wrong? I'm like, I did this wrong. I know I did. I would get angry. And he's like, just know what you did wrong and just walk away. I'm like, thanks. But I heard he was going to sign. And as soon as I found out I was signing, I told him and he was excited. And then I invited him to my signing and that was special. But then when I got him, he didn't come to my signing, which I still gave him crap for because he fell asleep.
Yeah.
I gave him crap for that. But when he invited me to his signing, he invited all of the girls there. And I just remember all the girls looking at me. They're like, we don't want to go say anything. You can go do it. So I just went up there and I just let my heart out, and I told him how happy I was and how proud I am of him and how the rest of the girls are proud of their manager, as he put it. It was just so amazing to have not only a friend but a brother there who helped not only me but my team along, and were there for both programs. It was special. It's just a special bond that we have. Oh, Lord.
Okay. So now you at Catawba.
Oh, my
You made
goodness.
history. You made school history. First female soccer player to sign, right? Now, welcome to Catawba, right? We talked a little bit about your season. How did it feel to know I am a college athlete?
I was terrified, to be honest. I'm like, oh, my goodness. What's going to happen? I don't know these girls. I don't know what's going on. And when I got there, it was immediately like family. They were there for me. They're like, hi. Like, they would introduce themselves. They would get to know me. And I just made some really like strong bonds with these girls. And it just took me away. I'm like, I didn't think it was going to be like this, but at Catawba, it's completely different. It's kind of like going from one home to the next. It's small, but you still have that bond that you have when you first meet. It's like making new friends all over again. And once you know their personality, you like mesh with it, and it's amazing. I couldn't ask for a better team right now.
For sure. So, McKenzie, we just went through some pictures. Any last advice for any student athletes out there?
Oh, let's see. Always take care of yourself. Put self-care first. That's the main thing. Always be grateful for what you got, because some people have a lot less than you do. And push yourself to your limit. The mind gives up before the body. That's a very key thing. And look out for your teammates. Even if you're doing track or whatever, and you're just in a single sport, you still need to look out for your teammates and look out for your fellow students and everything. Don't let anyone mess with them. Always be there for one another.
Any last shout outs?
Let's see. I gotta think. Shout out to Shantae. Oh my goodness. Big shout out to her. That's always fun. She always encouraged me to do so much. And of course, shout out to Miss Ewing, or Miss Christie as a lot of people call her. She was a big mentor. She was actually the first person ever to actually start my nickname of Wonder Woman, which I don't know why that stuck. But big shout out to her. She really changed a lot of lives, and I really don't think I would be here without her, which is hard to say, but yeah, I think that's it. It's just, there's too many people to think that I could do shout outs to. It would take another hour.
Say shout out to everybody I didn't mention. And that'll cover everybody.
They know who they are.
So it was a pleasure having you on, McKenzie. You continue to, light up everyone's life. I mean, you're a special person. Continue doing what you're doing. I definitely think you're a leader. You're a natural born leader, and know that, and there's a lot of people look up to you, like we talked about, and you're from your soccer team. And now you're starting to see how all the stuff that you did, all the work that you've done, how you impact other people's lives, and you're special. So always remember that. Never lose track of that. Okay.
It just surprised me how many people look up to me, because I never pictured that happening. And I think Shantae said it the best. She's like, you never realize it until you're gone. I'm like, it's just amazing.
McKenzie, when you're just being you, like you're just a leader, right? you never realize it until you reflect back on it. Because sometimes you can't reflect on it when you're being a tough leader, right? You can't, you think, oh, they hate me because you got to be tough. But then you look back and you can go off to college and come back and see a Julia, Ella, Zara, and they're coming to you, and any of your other friends or ex-teammates, they come to you and they need your support because you was a support system for them. So that's my last words to you. Remember that you're special and that you're a support system for a lot of people, and you're a great leader, and you can do anything that you can, and good luck at the next level.
All right. Thanks.
All right, McKenzie, it was good talking with you. Tell your mom, your father, and your siblings I say hey.
I will. Thanks for having me.
No doubt. It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye.